Ethical Perspectives on the News is produced by the Interreligious Council of Linn County, which is solely responsible for its content. The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of KCRG TV9.
Hi there, and welcome to Ethical Perspectives. My name is Quinn Pettifer with the Gazette, and I'm the moderator for this session today. And today's topic is on the impact of volunteerism. As many know, April is National Volunteer Appreciation Month, and this is a really great opportunity for all of us to give a big thank you to the thousands within our region that devote their time and talent to our nonprofit organizations. But today we're of course going to say thank you, but we're also going to take a deeper look on how the act of volunteering will impact so many different organizations from a variety of perspectives. And I've got a great panel here today. First off, Kayla Paulson, and I've got Sandy Rosenberger, and then Brittany Appleton, and I'm going to let you guys introduce your organizations that you're representing here today.
Sounds great. My name's Kayla Paulson, and I'm one of the volunteer engagement staff at United Way of East Central Iowa, and we help connect both individuals, employees, and nonprofits with impactful volunteer opportunities through a variety of things that we'll get into a little bit later.
Excellent. Thanks, Kayla. Sandy.
My name is Sandy Rosenberger. I'm the volunteer and event manager at Horizons, and we do a multitude of human services. Most well known, of course, is our Meals on Wheels program, but we also do mental health services, financial health services, transportation, and the list goes on. And we use a lot of volunteers.
Absolutely. Brittany.
Thanks for having me today, Quinn. My name is Brittany Appleton. I'm the event and volunteer manager at Waypoint. We do three main programs with Waypoint: our homeless and housing services, our domestic violence victim services program, and our child care, which we serve nearly 8,000 individuals every year. So through those three programs, and so volunteers are definitely necessary to help us move our mission forward.
And Brittany, we were talking about just before we went on air that the Waypoint is celebrating 125 years, and in that spirit, I wanted to get into my first question about just the need for volunteers. And you guys have I'm sure, seen over the years volunteerism change over the decades. And what's your perspective on the needs, from a few years ago to today? Are there changes? What's the climate?
Yeah, and just for those of you who maybe don't know, Waypoint used to be the YWCA,
yes.
So that's kind of where our long-standing history in the community comes from. But yeah, I think volunteering definitely changes with the needs in the organizations, and then also looking at what individuals are looking to get out of their volunteering and why they're pursuing that volunteering. So I've only been with Waypoint for about 3 years, but even in that time I've seen things shift for people wanting to do more virtual opportunities or things that they can do off-site or in the nights and weekends versus the traditional volunteering from several years ago, and Kayla will probably touch on this more. It was more of a replacement for work, and so people would work and then they'd retire, but they still wanted that continuity in their life, and so they wanted that 8 to 5 very office-like volunteering, and that's not what we're seeing today. Some volunteers that we have are just so creative in the work that they do for us, and so it's really great to work with individuals in the community who may come up with different ideas to support our programs that us as staff may never have thought about before.
Sandy, how about you guys? How's the need been shifting over time?
I'm still fairly new. I've only been in my job for a year and have loved it. But the thing that has probably surprised me the most is how many companies volunteer in the middle of the day and allow their employees to come and volunteer. And we wouldn't be able to do some of our programs without the companies. Over 30 companies that do Meals on Wheels routes for us on a weekly basis. And so that was a surprise to me, and I think that is changing because a lot of companies are allowing what is called VTO, or volunteer time off, for their employees, and I think it's a phenomenal trend that's happening, and I'm hoping that we can have that at Horizon someday too.
Beneficial to workplace culture and beneficial to the nonprofits that they're serving.
Absolutely.
Kayla, from United Way perspective, because you guys are the grand hub here.
So a lot of times what we see is that the supply of volunteers are changing. What they're wanting, what they're needing. They're unpaid human capital for nonprofits. So think about every company that's trying to hire employees, their human capital is changing too. So a lot of it's the culture of life and how the work-life balance and the activity. But we've also got a whole different set of skill sets that are coming to the table, where before a lot of times it was, someone was a stay-at-home mom, and when kids were in school, they wanted to do something, where now sometimes people are wanting to reinvent themselves in their 30s and 40s. And a good way to get work skills and to be able to show on your resume that you know what to do and how to do it is by doing it as a volunteer. So a lot of times that's happening, and we're helping agencies learn how to change their supply of opportunities to meet the demand of the great human capital that's available to them through volunteering.
That's awesome. And going into the ideal scenario, what is the ideal volunteer? What does the ideal volunteer look like? I mean, as far as just their, is it all about the mission anymore, or is it a balance of, how involved are they versus their skill sets, or what do you guys look for in a volunteer?
I think for us it really depends on the program they're looking at, and I'm sure that's for other organizations, and it could differ from organization to organization as well. We definitely have individuals who come to us and they just want to do some sort of one-time volunteering through their company, or maybe they need service hours for school, or just to get experience with a particular program, and that's fine for us. But we also have those long-term volunteers who just really connect with our mission or connect with our program, and they've been with us for years and put in hundreds or even thousands of hours for our programs. And so I wouldn't really say that we have an overall ideal volunteer. There's definitely some traits that we could pinpoint looking at a specific opportunity that we have available, but overall I think Quinn, you kind of touched on it, really just having that connection to the mission and wanting to be impactful in the community and for our organization is a really great start, and then working together to figure out what that best fit is going to be for that person's skill set and interests and all of that.
I would agree. I think that we have so many different situations where we need a different type of volunteer. Meals on Wheels, obviously we're looking for those long-term volunteers that want to come every week no matter the weather and go out and go get and deliver to our clients' homes. But we also have a lot of one-off events, fundraising events that we just need an enthusiastic large group of people that may be the only time we ever see them, but they're there to help us with our fundraiser or whatever else we're putting on. So I think a person that wants to come and have fun and learn about our organization while they're there volunteering, whether it's short or long, definitely.
What do you guys do to keep your volunteers coming back? Is it just, I mean, is it the mission? Is it the, are there acts that you guys, I mean, obviously we're in Volunteer Appreciation Month, but are there things that you guys do that you feel like, oh, this might be, or maybe that didn't work? Are there things that you guys do or have practiced that?
I think it almost depends on the volunteer and the age of the volunteer.
Okay.
Because younger people want to feel like they're really helping make the world a better place. Where sometimes an older volunteer may, particularly a retired fellow, sometimes just want a reason to get up and get out of the house and be needed. So it's just finding what they're trying to get out of the situation. And not everybody needs a lot of recognition. They just want to thank you that they've done a good job and that they're appreciated, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. One thing I've really learned in my time in my role is appreciating the volunteers the way they want to be appreciated. So we definitely have those volunteers that if I put up a billboard on First Avenue saying thank you to them, that would be the best thing ever for them. But we also have some who, they are going to yell at me if I took the time to write them a thank you note and bought them a $1 gift from the dollar store because they don't think they need that. And what they get out of their volunteering is all the appreciation that they need. And so just being there and talking to them and figuring out, again, why are they volunteering and make sure that they are appreciated in the way that they want to be appreciated has been a really great help. But then also knowing some of them are not there for the long term and being okay with that and just being grateful for whatever support that they are giving you during that time, because they could come back later when the time is right and volunteer again, or potentially become a donor because you weren't pressuring them to say, we need you here once a week for 2 hours for the rest of your life. That's a big commitment that used to be expected of a lot of volunteers, but times have changed, and so we just try to change with them and be flexible and be grateful for whatever support we can get from the community.
Absolutely. Well, for Kayla, your perspective, whether it's somebody that's coming to United Way saying, I want to volunteer, or it's a nonprofit saying, we need volunteers, do you help them kind of figure out what the ideal volunteer opportunity looks like? Or does it depend on the volunteer?
It depends a decent amount. One thing I would say is the most ideal, I kind of mulled over this question. I was like, I need to have an answer for it. I got to back my girls up in case they need it. They did a great job, but I would say it would need to be somebody that is mission aligned. They have to be passionate about the cause, but they also have to know it's okay for an organization to say you might not be a good fit. So the ideal volunteer puts the organization above self in a way. So if somebody is able to do that, they will be an asset to anywhere that they volunteer. And thinking about that, I also look and go, okay, we also as organizations need to be mindful and let volunteers help job craft. You know, if you have a front desk opening needed, which we did, and we had a gal that came to me with amazing skill sets and analytics and being able to work with data, and I was like, how can we make both of our worlds work?
Right.
Because she wouldn't have been fulfilled just sitting at our front desk, and we wouldn't have been tapping into those amazing skill sets. So together we worked on kind of what can we do to make that a great fit, and I think more and more organizations are doing that, and people are used to doing it in their jobs more and more, so they're also more comfortable opening that conversation.
Are you seeing people in terms of life cycle? Do you prepare nonprofits for, okay, be prepared, you're going to have some volunteers that kind of, you know, fall wayside, others might come in. Do you talk about the life cycle of a volunteer very often?
The funny thing is, I know people say millennials and boomers are different, but I'll also tell you there's a whole lot that's very similar. A lot of our boomers are saying, hey, you know, I used to have to be somewhere all the time, every time. I want now just a project base. I want to do something for 6 weeks, and then I want to be able to take off to Tuscany for 6 weeks. So we're having more and more of that, both on the young professionals and on what I call pre-retirees and retirees that we're seeing that are trying to figure out what is the next step in life, and what, you know, you can't make a commitment of 2 years to almost anything. They're wanting to look more at what can I do in the next 3 months, or in that project short-term kind of thing.
Absolutely. So from both of your perspectives with your volunteers, what kind of conversations are you having with your volunteers? Are they more strategy setting? Is it more per event? Is it kind of, here's what we need for the year? Talk a little bit about your volunteer strategy.
As far as recruiting, what happens usually is people contact me, and they've seen something, or they've seen a news story about Meals on Wheels, or they've seen one of our fundraisers, and they're very interested and want to somehow get involved. So we do a lot of talk back and forth to see what exactly it is they want to do, what their availability is, and over the phone usually, and then I have them come in and we do a sit-down interview and really talk about their goals of volunteering. And I've been doing a lot of that lately because we've had a big fundraiser, and so we've had a lot of interest with volunteers, which has been phenomenal. So it's a lot of listening to kind of see what they're looking for.
Excellent.
Kind of on the backside of that too, I do a lot of work with our program staff to figure out what the need is for our programs. So as individuals come to us and say, this is what I'm interested in, I know it's going to be a fulfilling opportunity for them, and they're not going to be coming in at the same time as 4 other volunteers and there's no work for them to do. So I really work with our staff to figure out, okay, what are the current needs for the program, and we reevaluate that at least twice a year, if not more often, so that as people are coming and saying, I'm really interested in helping, I can say, okay, here's what our current needs are, make sure they understand what we're looking for in a volunteer, and then do that job crafting if, you know, that's not really what I'm looking for. And that's one of my favorite things, I think, working with volunteers, is when they come to us and say, hey, I have this idea, what do you think about that? It's just, we get really cool ideas and great opportunities that I myself and some of our staff would never be able to come up with on our own, and then it gives them an opportunity if some of our, what I call our staple opportunities, don't fit what they're looking for, or their schedule or their commitment, they're still able to get involved in a way that works for them. So I agree with what Sandy said, just a lot of communication, whether it be with the volunteer or the staff or everything, to figure out what best way we can serve the community and our clients.
Absolutely. So we teased this a little bit earlier about different demographics and what motivates a volunteer depending upon just kind of where they are in terms of their demographics. And I know just working with you and Sue over at United Way, it's really fascinating the research that you guys have collected over time about different kinds of demographics and what motivates them to volunteer. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so thankfully we don't do all the research ourselves.
Yeah, that's always nice.
We've got an amazing network that we are connected with other volunteer centers, other United Ways, other RSVP programs, which is the 55 Plus initiative locally. So we get to take advantage of those broader research. But it is interesting. We have seen quite a bit of trend on the lower to mid income levels actually volunteer and donate at a much higher rate.
Really?
But a lot of it isn't necessarily demographics like most times people think about, socioeconomic. It's actually more life stage. So it's pretty common for young pre-professionals, either a college student or that just starting off in their career, to look for volunteer opportunities that they can build their resume with. Sometimes people go, ooh, is that taboo? No. I say if somebody wants to come and they have a reciprocal reason for volunteering, great. But as we see people move past, they're getting steady in their career, then kids are coming along. A lot of times that's switching. It's switching to volunteering with the schools, kids' activities, soccer, church groups, that kind of thing, getting more involved because you only have so much time. Right. So you want to invest it in your family and get engaged that way. Then as people are hitting that empty nester stage, okay, you're no longer having to do carpools, you're no longer having to chauffeur and schlep kids back and forth, and you're kind of going, wait, who am I now? What am I doing? We're seeing those pre-professionals are going, those pre-retirees are going, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? What have I not gotten to do for the last 25 years? And reinventing and looking to explore kind of some of their own personal interests and where they want to be. As they retire, we're seeing more and more, either they need to share their skills and they want to move from looking to success to being significant in the community. No longer are they focused on that career success. They're more focused on leaving that legacy and making sure they're making a stamp in the community. So it's kind of a life stage progression. Yeah. But the interesting thing is those life stages have remained kind of steady over the last 4 to 5 generations.
Is there in terms of communication, ways to recognize, are there different preferences depending upon where someone is in a life stage, or does that matter? I mean, I just think about like anything from posting volunteer opportunities to being recognized. I mean, some of it is just your behavior, right? Not necessarily where you are in life. But
so a lot of times we ask people. I know some of the organizations have great surveys that they also do, but it's more finding out what they want. Pre-professionals, those young professionals, I usually ask, do you want me to give you a LinkedIn endorsement? Do you want me to recommend you? I make sure that it's a genuine recommendation because I don't want it to ever come back and haunt me. But we have those conversations. The funny thing is, sometimes even my volunteers that are retired, I even have one in his 80s that loves a LinkedIn endorsement. So do it necessarily rely on life stage? No, but it's the individual. I mean, some want a Facebook shout out from United Way's general account. Other people want me to just write a handwritten little thank you note that says exactly what they did for us and how it made an impact.
That's excellent. So talking about demographics and life, I'm going to put life stages instead of demographics in here. Do you guys see some trends in this from what Kayla has explained as far as things that are motivating, or how do you guys communicate depending upon where that person is in the life stage or demographics, or do you take that inventory in when you first talk to your volunteers?
Yeah, I think we just try to make everything accessible to everyone. So as times are changing and we're relying more on technology, we're doing more of those things. We're posting our volunteer opportunities on different websites and using social media a lot more to try to recruit volunteers and utilizing our website, but also making sure that we have those hard copies of our volunteer applications. So if someone doesn't have access to the internet, they can still come into our office, fill it out by hand, hand it in to me. We can schedule an interview at that time, do all of that face-to-face, but then we have several people who I'll send them an email, they'll fill it out right on the computer, they'll send it right back to me within 5 minutes, and then we're scheduling an interview right then and there through email. So just really making sure everything's accessible so we can do things in a way that's best for each individual, I think is what we really strive to do.
Yeah, I would agree too, because you really have to meet them where they're at. And that may be somebody, I get a lot of retired people that just walk in the front door and want to talk to me about volunteering, and that is absolutely fine. Otherwise, it's online sites. It's word of mouth a lot of times. One friend says, hey, you ought to think about doing this at Horizon. So there are just so many ways to reach volunteers, and you just have to reach them wherever they're coming to you from. So, and it's also even being open to, we do a lot of community service through the courts. I'm thrilled if people give me a call and say, I need some community service hours, and if I can help them, I'm thrilled to do that as well.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, it's
definitely.
absolutely a win-win.
So one question that I have, because again, we're a Midwestern society,
Yeah.
so we tend to, volunteering, it's just a good thing to do, just goodness of our hearts. I've talked to, and Kayla and I have had this discussion before, about those that are a little bit more forthright in wanting to volunteer for a specific reason, whether it's a resume builder, networking, learning more about an industry, things like that. But sometimes people get a little uncomfortable, like, oh, I don't, it's just the right thing to do. What do you guys think about volunteering with purpose? What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. And one of the probably the biggest trend that I'm seeing is high schoolers trying to get their silver cords for graduation. And I love being able to help them do that, because that sets them, I think, on the track. Hopefully, as an adult, they'll continue on and they'll get a really great experience. And so there is an end game in why they're doing it, but I think that sets them up for potentially volunteering through the rest of their lives.
They might not even
It's a good
realize
thing.
it at the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see something similar with a lot of college students coming to us for their internships, whether that be for a class credit or just for good experience. We're a little bit different where we have more vulnerable populations, so we can't work with a lot of younger students, but the college age is great. We've got 3 great schools in the area who have some really fabulous students who will do internships both with our programs, but also more on the administrative side. I was very fortunate that I got into the field that I did from when I was in college, doing internships with local nonprofits and figuring out that this was the work that I wanted to do. And so I think it's great if we can provide that type of stuff for students or anyone who's looking to get those experiences. We've also had people who say, I'm making a career change and I really want to get some experience in this area because all of my experience is way over here. And so as long as they have the work ethic and are able to do that, we're happy to provide. But I also think there has to be at least that little bit connection to the mission as well. And I think most people, they're going to pick an organization to do that because they're passionate about some point of the cause. But yeah, we have great experiences with interns and different people who kind of have not the ulterior motive, but another reason versus just sharing their time and talents with us. So we love it. Send them over.
Absolutely.
A lot of times I say it's a reciprocal relationship. If you look at any successful relationship in your life, in any facet, it's usually reciprocal.
Yeah.
Some volunteers, they want to volunteer just for the warm and fuzzies. And then I tell them, look, you got warm and fuzzies from it. You can't, there's something you're always going to get from volunteering. Yeah. So I sometimes don't point blank ask them what they want out of it. Sometimes
What's in it for you?
I kind of 20 questions around it. But we need to find out what's motivating them. I actually give a session for whether retirees or active employees at a company, but to kind of dig in, what do you want out of volunteering? What's motivating you? What kind of causes are you interested about? And help narrow that down, because sometimes you want to volunteer, but you haven't been asked and you don't know where to start. So sometimes even helping find out what is that motivation that's getting them interested to volunteer, and then helping connect them right away with that.
A big trend that we're seeing, especially over the last couple of years, is employers. And Sandy, I believe that you brought this up, where employers are setting up volunteer programs within their workplace, whether it's a tool for recruiting, retaining, workplace culture, all the above. Kayla, I'm going to pick on you here again. Sorry, just from a hub perspective of, are you seeing an increase in employer volunteer programs? How are they getting started? Where do they even start?
So the good news is we've got some amazing companies that are already part of the Workplace Volunteer Council. So those companies help each other out, and they're polishing each other's wheels. So if a company is interested, they can connect with United Way, and it's just the Workplace Volunteer Council. It's pretty easy to find on our website, or just give me a call, and we'll help connect them. They then get resources right off the bat that they can use, but also there are amazing other individuals that are sharing the stories of what's been successful, or maybe not, inside their own company. And we know that millennials especially are looking for that social mission.
Yeah.
They're wanting to work at a company and invest time, talent, and treasure in that company that has a mission outside of just profits. So in order to be good at hiring and getting some of our best qualified individuals in the community, companies are needing to make that change. And even United Way, we offer volunteer time off because we know that is something that people look for, and we like to practice what we preach. So if we tell companies it's a good mind, we figure we should do the same.
What do you see? What are some of the concerns or red flags that employers raise when you talk about volunteer? Are there common red flags?
So sometimes people are like, oh, I don't know if I have time to do it. So we try and figure out, can it be done inside the workplace? We bring hygiene kits on site for some companies where they're like, we can't have staff leave and go somewhere. Other companies are like, it's an issue to go out after work because dang those kids, they need to get to soccer and all that. So we're able to help look at what are some opportunities during the daytime, such as day of caring or some other random opportunities that we can find that's a good fit for that organization. And typically the company culture, they've got kind of a cause or mission that they're after, so we try and make a match that way too.
You guys both mentioned working with employers. What have been your experiences here?
I totally agree with Kayla in that it does capture some folks that have such a busy family life that they could never volunteer outside of their work hours. So it does give them an opportunity and to really do some important work while they're or it's important volunteering while they're at work. And I love it because we couldn't survive with Meals on Wheels without our many, many companies that allow their employees to come and volunteer and do a route for us. So we are so grateful to them. And I know a lot of it was started because at companies because millennials insisted on it. And so companies are kind of waking up that it's a wonderful benefit for their employees and that they love it. And I hope that it just becomes a huge thing.
They're responding accordingly.
Yeah.
Brittany?
Yeah, we have some really good partnerships with different companies in the area. A lot of them have stemmed from either being connected to them through United Way or especially Day of Caring, because that's such an easy way for companies to get their foot in the door.
What is Day of Caring for those that don't know?
Yes, so,
real quick plug here.
Day of Caring is something put on through United Way, and it's just a day of volunteering throughout the community that companies can get involved with and go to different organizations, and they range from a couple hours to full day projects. And from the organization side of things, it really allows us to get some things done that staff and even our long-term volunteers would never have the time, resources, effort, any of that to actually get done. And so it's a really great opportunity, and I think is a good way to get your foot in the door with that employee volunteering if that's something you're looking to do at your company. But then for us too, it gives us a chance to really talk to them about our mission, and maybe they've heard of us or maybe they never have, and so it's a good touch point for us to then bring them into our mission even further. So we get a lot of people who come in for Day of Caring who then reach out and say, I really had a great time, how can I continue to support you? And so we're able to connect them even further with either different volunteer opportunities, donating, outreach, things like that. So and then we've developed partnerships again long-term with companies where they then want to help us out with something like that every year moving forward. And so it's just a really great way to get a lot of people involved who may never have connected with your organization before.
Excellent. Okay, I need a website from each one of you for those that either employer or individual that would like to help out.
Yeah,
website.
It's www.waypointservices.org.
Website.
Horizonsfamily.org.
Website.
uweci.org.
Excellent. Thanks to you, and thanks to everybody out there for volunteering. Happy National Volunteer Month. From all of us at Ethical Perspectives, have a great day.